There are reports today that the Raptors are now the frontrunners to trade for Dame. Mark Spears adds that while the Raptors have had recent conversations with the Blazers about Lillard, no deal is close to being imminent yet. All right, following this news, here's a look at the updated odds for where Damian Lillard will be playing this upcoming season. The Heat remain the favorites at minus 250. Trailblazers plus 300, followed by the Raptors at plus 400. The Celtics have the sixth best odds at plus 1,600. All right, I know one guy who does not want Dame Lillard to come to Boston. That is Chris Forsberg. He joins us now as we get closer and closer, by the way, to training camp. What is the best case scenario if Dame Lillard doesn't go to the Celtics, which I think is probably in your mind also a best case scenario, Dame Lillard not coming to the Celtics?
Yeah, so anywhere but Miami, right? Because that would just help Miami sort of reload a little bit and be a threat. And we saw last year they didn't even need superstars to be in the mix. So for me, it comes down to keep them away from the Eastern Conference powers. Now, like the Toronto thing's interesting. I'd have to know what the Raptors would be giving up. You hear like OG Anunoby wouldn't be a tremendous loss, especially considering his probably desire for a contract extension. And, you know, if you could keep Siakam and Scotty Barnes, like then that's an intriguing little mix up there. And yet, what's his mindset going to be? Is he just hell-bent on Miami, and will he be willing to go to Toronto and help them out? So there's a lot of variables in there. I think anything but Miami is the best-case scenario for the Boston Celtics.
ABM, Giles. ABM. Anything but Miami.
Okay. Toronto, I think, works. I was going to say that him staying in Portland is the best-case scenario.
Yeah.
However, he's going to want out at some point. So he would stay in Portland, and then at some point, you know, he would have these trade rumors, and maybe then Miami's got the assets or somehow can work out a deal to get him. But yeah, Toronto works for me.
All right. Well, speaking of the Celtics, let's take a look back at the state of the franchise exactly 1 year ago today at last season's Media Day. This is presented by 24autogroup.com, 11 locations across New England. They were coming. The Celtics were off a finals appearance. They just suspended Ime Udoka and promoted little-known assistant Joe Mazzulla. Marcus Smart was your starting point guard. Robert Williams, he was still on crutches, and Malcolm Brogdon. So happy to be here. Whole lot of changes, though, since then. Media Day is now just 6 days away, Tom Giles. And we're going to get to Kristaps Porzingis in a second. So we're going to take that out as the biggest storyline just for now. We'll talk about it in a second. What is if that was your biggest storyline, what is your second biggest? What's your storyline that you're watching at camp?
The Boston Celtics post-Marcus Smart era. And how do Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown step into that leadership role and take ownership of this team? That to me is one of the biggest storylines going into this season. How do they take over?
Forsberg, what are you watching?
That last bullet was like Malcolm Brogdon was happy. Like, look, I don't know where Malcolm Brogdon's mindset is right now. He's typically been a pro and he's making a ton of money. But I am eager more health-wise. Where is he at? We saw in that Eastern Conference final, and especially Game 7, that he just wasn't himself. And without Marcus Smart here, there's a big void at that point guard spot. I will say, have heard very encouraging things about Peyton Pritchard behind the scenes and in these informal workouts. But, you know, Malcolm's got to be ready. Malcolm's got to be as good as he was a year ago to sort of pick up some of the slack that they'd have without Marcus back there.
Yeah, for me, it's along the same lines as you, Giles. Who becomes the emotional leader, the vocal leader of this team? Is it Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum? Do they make it their team now that Marcus Smart is gone?
They have to.
Like, who emerges as that guy who is going to lead them to the next banner? Well, of course, as I mentioned, one of the biggest storylines, the biggest change on the roster from a year ago is the addition of Kristaps Porzingis. Many people are bullish on what the big man can bring to the season on offense and defense. But hey, Mike Giardi's not just a football guy. He also loves himself some basketball. I don't think he loves himself some Kristaps Porzingis.
What's up with that?
So how much basketball has he played this offseason? I'm curious.
That'd be none.
Because wasn't he supposed to play overseas? Oh, but then the foot. Yeah. But it's plantar fasciitis, so that's fine. That never bothers anybody long term. That's like no problem whatsoever. It's not like he's a 7'3" big man who's already had a history of lower leg issues, and now he has a foot problem. Nope, that works out great. Just ask Bill Walton how awesome that was. Like, I was fine with it if it was for 1 year, and honestly, I know you're going to throw the asset crap at me, but the 2-year extension for an extra $60 million means he signed through 2025, 2026. Makes me want to, like, go launch myself into a plate glass window. Like, I just have a bad feeling. I hope I'm wrong because I actually like his game. But the physical ailments for someone that age, and you're buying high, by the way. Like, oh, he played 65 games last year. Well, go show me the games played prior to that. Doggone it. But I'm fine other than that.
No need to go Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels, and launch yourself through a plate glass window.
Good reference.
This is, I've been told repeatedly that the foot injury is not a huge concern, and maybe that's just Celtics hopeful that, he's at full health for the start of this thing. But he looks pretty good moving around out there. I know there's a difference between real game speed, and it's certainly going to be interesting to see how he acclimates and fits in with this team. But I think the talent is undeniable. And I just think about all those shots that Marcus was getting, and now you got Porzingis firing away on those threes. I'm eager to see how it looks.
All that matters is that he's healthy for the postseason. That's really all that matters. You just need your players, your best players, ready for the postseason. That's it.
Yeah, because playing, 82 regular season games, even if he sits half of those, he'll be fine.
I mean, listen, it's a wonky injury, and it can flare up at the worst of times. Like, to me, I'd rather see him sit the first half, and we don't get to see him until after Christmas, and just get that thing taken care of.
Well, let's not get there yet.
I know.
Let's see if he's out there.
I'm just saying,
we're writing him off for half the season.
We're trying to help Giardi.
It's like the Patriots. A lot of accepts and ifs.
They're just trying to work me through this. They're trying to make me, put me in a better place for when the season starts.
I wanted to feel better that if he's not out there right away when the season starts, it's going to be okay. All right, the Celtics do begin training camp. Can't believe this, 1 week from today. Stick with NBC Sports Boston for complete coverage throughout the preseason. It is presented by 24autogroup.com, 11 locations across New England.